Hello everybody and welcome back to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hosler, and before we get into the deck this week, I have to say I'm sorry that you haven't seen me on here for a bit. I was, there's no other way to put it, I guess caught in a natural disaster. It was a crazy ice storm. I live in Oklahoma. We had all kinds of trees crashing down, hundreds of thousands of people without power. I had no internet for a long time, but I'm back and I'm making videos for you, and this is a fun one. We are getting some Zendikar rising action here with Nissa of Shadowed Boughs, or Bow? I don't know. One of those two. I think it's Bow. in Elves, in Golgari Elves. But that's not all. Look, obviously you know a lot of the cards you'll see in this deck, but look at this. Tajuru Paragon. It's a 2-mana, 3/2 Elf Cleric, Rogue Warrior, Wizard. That's a lot of creature types. Great for having a party. But also, it's an elf, and it's pretty aggressively costed, right? A 3/2 for 2 that has upside, because you can pay a kicker of 3, and if you do, look at the top 6, put a card that shares a creature type with it into your hand. And this deck has no problem making mana. That's because Elvish Mystic, Heritage Druid, Llanowar Elves, some of these you know, right? The Mystics and Llanowar Elves. Here's some newer ones, though, right? Elvish Reclaimer. It gets 2/2/2 if you have 3 land cards in your graveyard. You can sack a land to go get any land to put it in, but it's also just a 3/4, right? Once you have lands in your graveyard, and it's an elf. So it gives you the ability, you know, to thin your deck or whatever if you'd like, but you can also, you know, go to Cavern of Souls when you need it and be uncounterable. And this deck's going to make a lot of mana. You know what Heritage Druid can do. You tap 3 elves for 3 mana, and with things like Dwynen Elite that put a bunch of creatures into play, or Collected Company puts a bunch of bodies into play, you should end up with a lot of elves to tap for mana. And that's how we're going to do things like kick the Tajuru Preserver, cast the Nissas, run off these companies. And thanks to Elvish Archdruid being both a lord and the biggest mana generator of all, we can give our elf creatures +3/+3 and trample with Ezuri to win the game. And of course, always burn them out with the Shaman of the pack. It's pretty straightforward, but I'm very excited to see how these new cards fit into it. You know, we've got the Tajuru Paragon here. I think this will be a nice one. And Nissa, of course, being able to get a Planeswalker into any deck is always going to be a good one. And this is a really nice curve topper here. You can have this make lands, you can get loyalty, but you can put a creature with converted mana cost less or equal number of lands you control, and it gets countered. So it's just a great card to ramp into, and of course it allows you to turn your lands into creatures. So very powerful version of Nissa there. Onto the sideboard, pretty much what you'd expect. Leylines for the graveyard decks, Damping Spheres for the combo decks or Tron, Rec Sage when you need it, Kitchen Finks when you want life, or Abrupt Decay to blow some stuff up, and a Gaia's Blessing in case we run into mill. Yep, that's how that works. We can shuffle our graveyard into our library if it gets milled. That's what it's there for. So everybody, I'm so happy to be back with you. With Mining Modern here. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a long couple of weeks, but I'm excited to get to these videos. So here we go. Nissa of the Shadowed Boughs? Bows? One of those two. Elves. Thanks for watching. All right, here we go. New version of Elves. It's an old favorite of mine. I won't lie. I really do enjoy playing the deck. But do we keep this? I believe we rolled a 1. We're on the draw. You know, on the draw, I'll keep it. On the play, I think I mulligan. And frankly, you can probably mulligan it anyway. But I don't know. I mean, Elvish Mystic, Heritage Druid, Shaman of the pack, certainly good. And we've got lands for all the lands we're ever going to need. I think 4 is too many. But, you know, if I was on 6, I would just ship one of them back anyway. So it's unlikely to be a ton better than this, if you think about it. So let's see what we can do. There's something to ramp into. I'm actually going to fetch out a forest here. Our opponents... And this is not something that matters very often, or at all. Maybe I shouldn't have done it. But look, our opponent is not going to be putting a ton of pressure on us, at least yet. They may tax us out or something, but that's the thing. If they play something that means I can't search my library, Leonin Arbiter on turn 2, I would like to have fetched in that scenario. So that's why we're doing that. So it also, for what it's worth, hey, it takes another land out of our deck. Not that that's the primary concern. I've just been beaten by Leonin Arbiter a couple too many times. How about that? That card's crazy, especially on Magic Online. You have to click it before you do anything, and we were right. It's a taxes deck. Zeus Thalia. So the question is now, do I want to fetch again to continue to play around that? On this turn, well, this turn isn't great, honestly. We're just going to be playing the Heritage Druid, frankly. Or I could play land. I could play Ezuri. That's not terrible, I guess. Let's go ahead and get that thing on there. You know, our opponent might just remove it, but, you know, it has... Even if you're not sort of in the I have 20 mana and I'm overrunning my team to win stage of the game, Ezuri is still quite good. You can regenerate an elf. You can... I mean, hey, it's a 2-2. I guess it'd get some beat down on, but just the regeneration is kind of relevant, right? Our opponent can attack us with that Thalia literally forever, and we can just tap this Elvish Mystic every time, block, tap, regenerate. So we'll keep the Thalia at bay if we need to. Let's see what they do now, though. They've only got 4 cards in hand. Looks like they probably were forced to take a mulligan or two. All right, we are not the only ones with some Zendikar Rising here. Archon of Emeria. Now I wish I had fetched non-basic lands you control, that we control, that is, enter the battlefield tapped, which means this fetch land, yeah, that's going to enter the battlefield tapped twice. That's why you do sort of what we were talking about. It is also worth noting I cannot cast. I say that. Maybe I can. What if I play the elf and a land? Well, I guess this land's going to come into play tap no matter what we do. Although, for what it's worth, I have my black mana here. This is non-basic, right? So I can fetch out a basic forest with this Windswept Heath. That would help. The question is if there's any way I can company this turn, right? If I just play the Heritage Druid, play a tapped land, then we have 4 mana, but our opponent has a Thalia, so there's no way, I believe, that we can play Nissa or company this turn. So it's either Shaman of the Pack or Heritage Druid, or both. So let's go ahead and start with the Heritage Druid. Okay, so... Sorry, you got a little distracted there. Okay, let's, I guess play the Windswept Heath here. And then I guess we just pass the turn. It's a little weird with elves to be in this situation. That said, I don't think it's bad for us. I don't think it's bad for us at all. We're not taking much damage here. We can cast Collected Company or Nissa next turn. We're going to have options available to us. And I'm not really sure what my mono, well, I guess black-white Tax's opponent over there, maybe mono-white, is really going to do that I care about. You know, Gideon or something like that, maybe? Giver of Runes is not the thing I care about. This doesn't matter basically at all. We don't need to win combat on the ground. All we have to do is just spam elves out, make a bunch of mana, and we'll either get there with the Shaman of the Pack, or we'll get there with the overruns on the Ezuri. So they have to decide what they want to do with their mana and their land and their cards and so on. But we're looking at just taking 2 damage from the Archon. Not a big deal at all. This is probably, frankly, a pretty good matchup for us. As long as we don't get hosed by stuff like Hand of All Fetch Lands, our opponent having Thalia and Archon and all these hate cards. All right, well, let's move to blocks. I'm trying to think this through. To regenerate a creature means to remove it from combat. This has first strike, so even if I were to block with both of these, which I could, and I could regenerate them both. Remember, I can only regenerate another target elf. There's no way to actually take the Thalia out, because it can deal enough combat damage to kill me. So let's go ahead and just make our safe block and regenerate this thing. And then untap, and I guess it depends on what our opponent does. We might get to play the Nissa. Landfall, put a loyalty counter. Pretty good with fetch lands, right? Oh, I see. This is from hand or graveyard. That's what makes this card very good. I knew it was powerful. I just had to read all the words on it. It does, in fact, say or graveyard over there at the bottom there in that small text, and that adds a whole new dimension of power to this thing. So on this turn, I think we fetch for a basic forest. We have access to 6 mana this turn. We can go double Shaman of the Pack, nuke our opponent for, what is that, 4 and then 5, 9. That's a bunch of damage, but I think the play is likely to be pass and then play company. I do want to make sure that I understand this, though. Non-basic lands in the battlefield tap, yeah. So I think it's just a pass and a cast company, and then after that we get to just slam these Shaman of the Packs down, and yeah, I mean, we might literally could just do 19 damage with it. That's how this deck can work. In the past, these Elves decks have played like Elvish Clancaller, which is an Elvish Lord that can pay 6 mana to go get another one out of your deck. Pretty powerful, but it sort of runs into the issue where you're not attacking with it if you're doing that, which is fine a lot of the times. And it can be very good because it can, you know, go get another copy of itself, put it directly into play. That's card advantage. But it didn't necessarily make Elves better against anything that it wasn't already good against, right? And it didn't really help your bad matchups. If your opponent has a Wrath, yeah, in theory it sounds great. You can just go get another one, but I think it costs 6 mana for that ability, and it's just, that wasn't often realistic against a Wrath type opponent. So I completely see why that card is the one that seems to have been cut in this list that we found put up a 5-0 for the Nissas, because Nissa seems like it solves a different set of issues, right? Against a control deck, like we were just talking about, Elvish Clancaller, your opponent has Wrath of God, yeah, you're out of luck. And the thing is, no matter how many Elvish Clancallers you have, how many times you activate that ability, one Wrath still gets you. But Nissa, this is a Planeswalker that it gives you an attacker every turn. It allows you to bring back your Elves. It's very easy to ramp into. It fits into the colors. Is really, I think, a real power boost for Elves here. All right, well, our opponent going to come in with the Archon again. Put us down to 13. But all they had was an Aether Vial. Well, that's not really where they're looking to be here. Our life total starting to dwindle a little bit here, but I think we're about to turn the corner pretty quickly, frankly. Let's make some mana. And let's cast this Collected Company. I don't think my opponent would really have any responses here. They don't. And here we go. Dwynen's Elite and Dwynen's Elite, huh? I'm in. I see that Elvish Reclaimer there, but you know what? I want the Dwynen Elites. I want all of these tokens. And then I want to play some Shaman of the Packs. We have access to now a lot of mana on our turn. And a land is not the worst thing here. So, alright, let's start thinking this one through. Tap these. It's a nice, easy tap to start with. Let's go Shaman of the... Well, let's go Nissa, actually. I guess I'm actually... I think this through here. We're kind of capped by black mana. I have access to 2 of it. So I actually probably can't play all 3 of these this turn. Given that this will come into play tapped. But I do think I want to lead with the Nissa. Because we have the land drop, you know, because it's just good. You always want to get your Planeswalkers down sooner rather than later. And look, the thing is, we're still going to be able to play a Shaman in the back here. Nuke our opponent for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage here. It's in addition to getting to swing with this 3/3. Oh, and you know what? Wait, can we win? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Can we win? I'm working my way through this here. This is why you take turns slowly, even when you think you know what you're going to do. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will do 7. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, this will do 8. Put him to 11. This one will deal 9. Put him to 2. I could use this to untap a land I control, including one of these black lands, to play an additional Shaman in the pack. Now, alternatively, I can attack. I can make exactly enough mana to do an overrun, but that's not what we're going to do here. All right, we're going to cast this thing at Vigilance. It does not. Haste and Menace? It has Menace? All right, 2020, I'm in. We're going to have Menace, apparently. That's pretty strong, which means our opponent's pretty far behind the 8 ball here. They're frankly probably annoyed at us for not killing them a little faster, but look, we have a lot of options because this Ezuri is on the table as well. We can make enough mana to do an overrun here. In fact, there might have been a world in which I was able to come up with overrun for lethal, but with our opponent having mana open, I'm just going to play these Shaman of the Packs out, I think. Alright, so we'll go ahead and make 3 more mana here. I'm just going to do it with these. I understand that our opponent... I mean, we're tapping down, right? It's not what you want to do, but it's going to be alright, I think. What's going on? Can I cast my spell? What's going on? Uh-huh. Okay, yes. Am I missing something? Oh, I can't cast more than one spell a turn. I am, as a matter of fact, missing something. There you go. That's why you take the turn slow. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I give me a break. I've been buried, digging out of fallen trees for a week. All right, fair enough. Let's just go ahead and do this with Nissa then. I guess we'll have to kill our opponent a little slower. Alright, Menace and Haste here. I guess technically we should swing with both elites as well as the land. Because we can protect them both here. This forest is in fact not an elf. It is an elemental, I believe. It's an elemental, so we can't regenerate this one. Or pump it with Ezuri, but it's got Menace. My opponent's not going to... They'd lose either their Giver of Runes or their Thalia here. I guess they'd lose their Thalia, so... Okay, they make the one block we expect. I will regenerate that thing. As we don't need that mana to cast a spell anyway. Look how good Nissa is here. 6 loyalty. You can play this thing on turn 3 in this deck. Can you play it on turn 2? We can play it on turn 2, right? Maybe. I'm not sure. I have to do the math. And turn 1, Elvish Mystic. Turn 2, Blackland. You can play Heritage Druid. Dwynen's Elite. I don't know if you can get there. Regardless, let's do some damage to our opponent here and then just pass the turn back. I think it's safe to say, I haven't played Magic in a while, everybody. Farewell. I've had no internet. I had power most of the time, but I had no internet. I was just completely disconnected from the world. Honestly, it wasn't the worst way to spend last week in particular. But I'm a little rusty, so, you know, mining modern. Let's go. Not punting Pioneer, so forgive me for punting anyway. That said, I think this game's pretty locked up. I went pretty slow there, but I don't really see what our opponent can do outside of a Wrath. If they have a Wrath, I still have a Planeswalker that's making 3/3s. I'm not really sure what they're going to use to dig out of this hole. That said, not over yet. I don't know what these decks look like entirely, I guess, with Zendikar Rising. Not sure if there's any other new tools we should be aware of, like the Archon of Emeria, which already got me once. A Flicker Wisp, huh? You can flicker a token? You can flicker my Nissa? What's the plan here? And this is each opponent. Each player can't cast more than one spell each turn. So this Flicker Wisp is their spell for the turn. And they're just going to use it to remove a token. Yeah, it's looking pretty good for us. I do like how you can break parity here on the each player can't cast more than one spell thing with the Aether Vial. That's a nice bit of, I'm not going to say tech, but it's a nice interaction. All right, well, let's just do this thing. Let's play... Oh, I almost did it. I guess let's play a Shaman of the Pack. Yep, that one will hit our opponent for how much damage there? That gets them for 7. Wait, does that mean the next one kills them? I think it does. Let's see. First time I've ever used this ability. Let's see if I can resolve it properly. I did. It turns out I can also break parity on the Archon of Emeria, and that Shaman of the Pack is going to be lethal right there because that's 8. On to game 2. That's mono white Taxes, huh? Gotta say, I like most of these cards here. I like Kitchen Finks to just getting in the way. Abrupt Decay gives you some removal. Probably cut the Paragons a little. I mean, they're good, but I'm not sure. That's a route we necessarily want to take here. I'll cut a Mana Dork. I don't know if we want any... Maybe on the play I'd bring in a Rex Sage or something just so... Hey, maybe we can, you know, pick off an Aether Vial or something. Because, you know, Rex Sage still a 2/1 creature. So, that said, this hand looks great, frankly. The Reclaimer also gives the Elves deck... And it's not a ramp, you know, it's not the traditional 1-mana elf. It does stuff with mana, but it doesn't ramp. But it does just become a 1-mana 3/4 after a couple of fetch lands. And I think that's something that the Elves decks never really had. It's always had to make do with 1/1s. And now it gets 3/4s. I mean, 1-mana, it's like a 1-mana Tarmogoyf, right? It's a half a Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf's always a 7/8. Well, that said, let's lead with our Mystic and pass the turn here. Next turn, we can actually have a pretty sick turn. We can go Reclaimer plus Heritage Druid, and of course, that's the other benefit of the Reclaimer. Being a 1-drop to just spam out there with things like Heritage Druid and so on really lets you be mana efficient. We get to then tap those 3 immediately to cast a turn 2 Ezuri, and then on turn 3 we'll have a Collected Company. This is why we fetched first. I love the things elves can do. Oh my gosh, it's even more sick now, I think. Alright, we'll play the Heritage Druid. We'll play the Reclaimer, and then we'll play the Archdruid. Heritage Druid, by the way, if you're ever wondering basically what the best and or most important card is in Elves, it is without a doubt Heritage Druid, because look at what we just did. We turned non-mana Elves, I mean, I guess, I say that. These creatures don't have the ability to naturally tap for mana, and yet, with the Druid, we made 3 mana even out of summoning sick creatures to play an Archdruid and pump the team, and what's that? We're going to be looking at 5 mana off the Archdruid. I can play Ezuri, attack with these 3, tap the Archdruid for 5 mana, activate an Overrun. That adds 9, so we'd be looking at 9, 11, 13, 15 trample damage coming at you on turn 3. I understand it's modern and you can do way more broken things or whatever, but you know what? There's a tried and true method of getting the job done, putting out a bunch of creatures and attacking for 15 on turn 3. As long as you're not getting comboed out, that goes a long way. Of course, our opponent being mono white here, we don't have to worry about, you know, some of the more traditional sweepers elves would be afraid of, your Anger of the Gods type cards. I would not at all be surprised if they did board in Wrath for what it's worth. But the fact that they are pathing that there, now it's free for them. In fact, we just got double hit there. We didn't get a land off the path, and we don't get a land off the Ghost Quarter thanks to the Leonin Arbiter, but we still have mana and I still have cards. So this is not the best situation for our opponent, I think. The only question, honestly, is if I want to be concerned about, you know, a Wrath in the future. But frankly, I don't think that I do. I think that I guess I just passed the turn. We're telegraphing a little bit here. Safe to say, but that's all right. Whether you know the Collected Company is coming or not, I don't think our mono-white opponent's going to be able to do too much about it. Look, we're even Mana Tithe proof. We have 5 mana over here, so we won't be Mana Tithed out of this one. Alright, well, that's a little more annoying. Although, at least right now I can pay for it. So my opponent either has to tap mana to play something, or they, you know, just go for a Field of Ruin play or something like that, and I just pay the mana. So it's a Skyclave Apparition. Alright. That's very good against me. This is a nice addition to Modern, I think. I think this card's pretty fairly balanced, but very good. Very, very good. I maybe wish it was CMC 3 or less, not 4, but yeah, they get to get our Heritage Druid here. I mean, we're going to get use out of it, but good for them. And when this dies, we get a 1/1 with no abilities. We don't get our creature back, we get a 1/1 token. Bit of a different ball game. All right, well, let's company. Another Archdruid and a Dwynen's Elite, or another Dwynen's Elite. I want the Archdruid, though. This was a pretty sick Collected Company for us. Because now I might get to be able to activate the Ezuri here. We'll see. This Archdruid's going to make quite a bit of mana. Land? I think land is good. Not a land, but it's not bad either. Alright, well. A lot of options. I can attack for 9, 11, 14. I think I can attack for 16 this turn. It's not good enough, but it is pretty good. And I think that's probably the play we're going to make. Alright, let's go ahead and play our Ezuri. I have no black mana, actually, come to think of it, for this Abrupt Decay right now. Because I don't have my Blooming Marsh anymore. I can cast a Shaman with the Cavern of Souls. But I can't do much else. I think this play is okay, though. I mean, yeah, there's no way to cast this. Because this puts it into play tapped anyway. So let's just do this. See what happens here. We'll make a big swing, and we'll make our opponent basically deal with it. Alright, my opponent cannot come up with enough power to take out any of our creatures, so hit that attack all button. Yeah, and they just take this hit as they need to. So, here's the thing. They have to have a Wrath. And if they have a Wrath, they're going to lead me with a 1-1 off the Skyflame Apparition. They're going to be at 3 after I attack them. And then we're going to hopefully have some follow-up. Now, our opponent can actually take us off. They're not going to here because we have them on board. But think about this Mono White Taxes deck. They could have Ghost Quartered us and a Field of Ruined us there. And we would have had no lands because I wouldn't be able to pay past the Leonin Arbiter. Now, this Skyflame Apparition is going to take out another Elvish Archdruid, but it's too little too late. We got our big hit in. And now we just get to slam the Shaman of the pack and dome our opponent for 6 damage. So, pretty clean victory by Elves, I have to say. Straightforward, you love to see it, right? This is what this deck does, no matter what cards they print into Modern. Good old Elvish Mystic Llanowar Elves and Elves still good enough. Alright, everybody, that was a great one. Let's jump into another. Alright, here we go, more Elves. Our opponent actually AFK'd for a minute there, so we're just going to pick the video up here. We have a good hand. We've got a good curve. We've got powerful cards. We've got mana. We've got things to spend mana on. And our opponent is a Temple Garden Aether Vial. So, on the play for us certainly always helps. And I'm just going to slam this. Oh, I say that. I say I'm just going to slam that Archdruid. I could do different stuff. I could play the Dwynen's Elite. I guess it depends on what we want to do. Now, think about this. I can play the Archdruid and have a bunch of mana next turn and play out my hand. Alternatively, I could play the Dwynen's Elite and the Elvish Mystic, make a bunch of creatures, then play the Archdruid next turn. It'll be summoning sick, but I actually have a reasonable attack at that point, and then the turn after that, we'll still have that mana with Ezuri coming into play and the Archdruid tapping to give Overrun and finish him off. You know, at least that's the idea. So, I'll tell you what, that's actually the line I'm going to play towards here. You know, we'll see if it works, but I think it's reasonable. You know, our opponent, they took a turn off on turn 1 with Aether Vial, and, you know, most of the time that's fine, but I think in this case, being on the play, having sort of an aggro hand in the sense that we have a bunch of, I mean, it's turn 2 and we have 4 creatures in play and we're going to pump them all up next turn. I mean, we're kind of the beatdown here. Excuse me. Now, the dream, of course, is if that Elvish Mystic I played had been a Heritage Druid, I could have tapped all 3 of those elves and played that Archdruid anyway, just actually lived the dream. But I think this is still pretty solid. Excuse me. Well, that's an interesting draw, too. But I think I'm going to save that one to reload. I think I'm going to stick to the plan here. And we're just going to play this Archdruid in attack. Now, our opponent, clearly, I think... Oh my gosh, excuse me, hiccups. Our opponent, I think, is clearly sitting on the Strix or whatever it is. Icefang Coatl. Wow. They weren't. They weren't. There was no Icefang Quaddle there. That's huge for us. I just assume this is some kind of Bant value. Blink. They had it anyway? Ah, they don't have 3 other snow permanents. That thing doesn't have Death Touch. And because we played that Elvish Archdruid out, it can't trade with anything. I mean, look, this strategy, this line we took, it's looking okay right now. We got a big chunk of damage into our opponent. And none of this is stopping us, right? Like these things they are doing are not going to beat us here. I guess we'll see what the Vial play is. It's another Icefang Quaddle. Okay, sure. Now they have Death Touch. Unfortunately for my opponent, my creatures are going to have Trample. Just tried and true Elves play here. Even and this is a deck full of 2019, 2020 cards, right? Modern Horizons and all those different things, Ephemerates, whatever. And of course a Hierarch throwback, but this is a good old-fashioned beatdown when it comes to Elves. I think we're swinging for lethal here. We're coming in for what, 21? Yeah, 21's probably good enough against our opponent's 3 toughness and an island. You love to see it from Elves, am I right? Yep, there we go. I'm glad we thought that through on turn 2. And came to that conclusion, because if we just slam that Archdruid on turn 2 and we're going to pop off on turn 3, I mean, maybe we do. Maybe our opponent takes out our Archdruid and then we make the play on turn 3 we're going to make on turn 2 anyway, and we just are out an attack. I actually like the line we took there. Worked very well. I have no idea how to sideboard against our opponent. I'll say that. I'm going to actually go look. I don't know these Bant snow decks very well anymore. Like, are we talking Omnath now, or what's what's the deal? So let's take a quick look on the internet. Okay, just creatures, just good magic creatures, I guess. So let's with that in mind, these probably aren't terrible. The Paragons are actually probably okay here. I'm going to cut one, but I think they're probably reasonable. I'm going to get a Rex Sage, because why not? Yeah, I honestly don't know, I guess is the answer here. I'm not sure exactly what we're looking for in the matchup, but we are going to find out. And I guess this one's a keep. I mean, it's certainly far, far, far from ideal. But look, 3 fetch lands and an Elvish Reclaimer. Well, that means on turn 3 we're attacking with this thing and it'll be a 3/4. So we have the Elite and the Shaman. I mean, this is a different looking hand, but it does have, you know, a solid curve that'll put some bodies into play. And you know what? That's a play as well. I don't think that's the play I'll make on turn 2. I think the Elite is better against the Icefang Quaddle that our opponent could have, but Paragon looking like a pretty likely turn 5 play. Or sooner, I suppose. Now, I do wonder, in this Elf deck we're playing, we're Green-Black Elves, and we're playing this Elvish Reclaimer. And it's a 1-drop, and it's a 3/4 a lot of times for 1, and it's powerful. And it has an ability that, hey, maybe it comes up. But I wonder if there was any way you could, you know, I don't know, is there any way? Like, surely there's some kind of silver bullet land we can put into this deck to do something fun with the Elvish Reclaimer, right? I use this card a lot in Commander to go get Urborg and Cabal Coffers in an Abzan deck. I know what this thing can do. This has got to name Company, right? That or Archdruid or Ezuri. I mean, they either name Company because that's probably the correct thing to name, or they're just going off of last game. Yeah, I mean, naming Ezuri is certainly reasonable there. Wow, more Dwynen's Elites, huh? All right, let's do it. I'm going to need a fetch for a black source at some point here. I guess I could just do it now. There's not a basic swamp in the deck. Yeah, whatever. Alright, well, let's play out the Dwynen's Elite. Let's get a token. Well on our way here, just spamming the board. Look, our opponent playing a Meddling Mage in the dark, naming Ezuri. We don't have one. It's just a bear. Yeah, sure. It stopped my Elvish Reclaimer from getting in there this turn, but that thing's swinging next turn. And the turn 3 Ether Vial, I have to say, not terrifying. And they could have a path open here, but I mean, what are they going to do? Path my Elvish Reclaimer? That sounds great to me. Drawing all 3 of our Verdant Catacombs. Maybe there's 4, I don't know. That was pretty nice, I won't lie. There were 4. I think it's a Windswept Heath we have less of, yeah. This time I'll just grab a forest, now that we have this Cavern of Souls here to give us more black mana later. What do I want to do with this? Because I can just attack, and it's not like playing any of these matters that much, but my opponent might trade. So it's a question whether or not I want to play a Shaman in the pack here, or whether I want to play another Dwynen's Elite. I think the play is going to be to attack with all my creatures, and then just play a Dwynen's Elite. You know, maybe I should have fetched for an Overgrown Tomb and put it into play tap. I could have done so at a low cost here, but I don't know that'll be hugely relevant. Our opponent took that hit. Which I can't say I would recommend in the sense that Elves is not super tricky. Oh gosh, and they're doing the second main? Absolutely. Elves is not a super tricky deck, right? Outside of maybe Court of Calling, but I couldn't Court there. They had a free block on my token and they didn't take it. But you know what? I scared them with the confidence. That's all it takes sometimes. You don't always have to have it. They just have to think you have it. I do think bluffing is fairly overrated in Magic. I know people talk a lot of times about, pros, bluff, blah, blah, blah. And most of the time, when someone makes, say, a bad attack, like I just made, and then it works, your bluff works, I mean, most of the time, it's not really always, certainly, that your bluff works, per se. It's that your opponent doesn't give up so much by you not having it, but they might give up a lot by you having it. Right, and I don't know what we'd have there, but hey, if my opponent blocks and I giant growth my token, and then I punish them with Ezuri or whatever, I mean, hey, it's a consideration. But a lot of times, you know, the people make the play they're always going to make, and the bluff aspect of it is oversold. That said, Luis Scott Vargas, Pro Tour Ravnica Allegiance? Guilds of Ravnica, maybe? One of the best bluffs I've ever seen in my life, and it was a legitimate bluff. Made his opponent think he did not have anything. His opponent turned all his creatures sideways, and Luis hits him with the Settle the Wreckage. It's an incredible moment on coverage. You should go Google it. It's a lot of fun. I'm sorry for the tangent. I haven't talked to a camera in a couple weeks. I got carried away. All that's fine, though. Let's keep running our hand out here. We're looking to be in a good position. Our opponent has mana for a co-auto, but they don't have a third land. We have a Reclamation Sage for the Vial, which I'm just going to do now. We'll see what happens. I'm just going to slam all my creatures sideways again, and now they'll probably block, but hey, I already got in a free damage. Oh, we need Ether Gusted on this? Oh, sure, I'll put it on the top, and I'll try again next turn with that. That's perfectly fine with me. All right, well, my opponent is clawing back into the game, though, in the sense that the Ether Vial is strong, right? It's a powerful card now that they're actually going to get use out of it when they get up to 2. So I'm just going to spam out my 3-2. It doesn't seem like much. It really doesn't. It's a 3-2. But look, we got our opponent down to 6. I currently have 4 elves in play. The Reclamation Sage makes 5. The Shaman of the pack makes 6. That's lethal. So our opponent now have they have the Ether Vial online, but they didn't do anything with their mana. I'm sorry, they had the Guster, but they weren't able to add to their board with their mana there, and as a result, they can't do anything about it. Elves taking it down again. All right, everybody, let's see if we can complete the 3-0. I love it. All right, trying to finish it off strong with Elves here. This is definitely a mulligan, though. One of the probably few hands that you have to mulligan, but that one looked like a pretty clear mulligan to me. And frankly, this one's not very good. That Reclaimer does not ramp us. We have 1 land. I have to ship this one, too. All right, well, here we're at. We've got our 2 lands. We've got some mana. I can ship one of them. I honestly think it might be the Heritage Druid. Well, maybe... No, it's not. It's... This would be a great 6-card hand, actually. It's just not a very good 5-card hand, I think. But you know what? I'm going to try it this way. We'll see. Oh, we're playing against Tron. Okay. Well, we'll play against Tron. We got some Damaged Spheres in the sideboard. I don't know that we're going to be able to beat Tron fast enough. But we'll see. Here's what we are going to do, though. I mean, we're going to go turn 1 Heritage Druid, and I mean, hey, that's basically nothing, right? But turn 2 Dwynen's Elite plus Elvish Archdruid, and then we have mana for Nissa after that. I mean, turn 3 on a mold of 5, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 power in play, attacking for 7. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to be attacking for 10 on turn 3 with a Nissa. On a mold of 5. Not bad, right? 12 power in a Planeswalker. Unfortunately for us, because I am playing against Tron, and they've never not had it on Mining Modern. So I'm sure they're going to have the Tron land on turn 3 to complete it. Maybe, though. They went digging with that Chromatic Star. Alright, company's not bad here. It depends what our opponent's payoff is, right? It's basically that simple. You know, if they don't have Tron or they don't have a great payoff, we can conceivably kind of go big enough, fast enough, that we might just be able to swarm them if they don't have a sweeper. And especially with the Nissa in play, right? We talked about the matchups where Nissa might make a difference as opposed to something like the Clan Callers that were here before. Clan Caller doesn't do much against Tron. It pumps your elves, sure, that's great. But same, it just gets swept away. What we need are resilient threats. And Nissa only dies to an Oblivion Stone or an All Is Dust, right? Or an Ugin, obviously. But now we're talking the 7 mana payoffs, the 8 mana payoffs, not the 6 mana payoffs. We'll see where this goes here, right? Opponent did not have it, although they do now. They were able to Sylvan Scry into the 3rd one. And now we certainly have some choices available to us. Unfortunately, I can't really do a ton useful, and so we didn't hit a land there. This is 4 mana. I have 6 mana right now. I have to imagine there's a world in which I just company main phase. What if I company main phase to make the mana? If I get 2 elves, you know, those 2 elves and a token, that puts me back up to 4 mana. I could play the Nissa. I mean, I can do both. It's just a question of whether or not we want to do that. And you know what? Why not? I'm going to make my opponent have the sweeper here. That said, they probably do, but given that we don't have lands, if our opponent has a sweeper, having this company in our hand, if they have Ugin, right? Having this company in our hand isn't going to make the difference anyway. So let's go ahead and see what we can... let's just put it all out on the table and see how it goes, I guess. Ezuri? And I guess the Elvish... the Reclaimer is not even a 3/4. I guess... I guess actually the the Tajuru Paragon is the biggest one here. All right, well, make some mana. Play a Nissa. Look, this is turn 3 out of mold of 5. We might lose the game. It's modern. Everyone has good cards. Our opponent could play an Ugin and we scoop on the spot. But you have to say, this is pretty good for a turn 3 on a mulligan to 5. We will use this ability, and we'll swing... What are we getting in there with? 8? Yeah, we've got lethal next turn. I mean, this is how, you know, Modern goes. This is how Magic goes a lot of the time. If our opponent has a sweeper, if they have Ugin, we're scooping on the spot. If they don't, they're scooping on the spot. Right? It's Oblivion Stone or Ugin. I think we can even beat... Yeah, we can certainly... We beat a Worm Coil right now. So, it's All Is Dust or Ugin or O-Stone for them. That's probably... you know, 5 to 8 cards in the deck that beat us. Everything else, I think we can beat. Unfortunately, it is Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, because it always is. Alright, fair enough. I got Troned. I always get Troned. Always get Troned. No, you're not resolving that ability. I can't win the game after that. Let's get out of here. What do we want? Damping Spheres are what we want. I guess a Reclamation Sage isn't the worst. Actually want all the Ezuris. I just want to try to kill them as fast as possible. The Tajuru Paragons, it feels like their time to go, I won't lie. I think this is probably where we want to be. I don't know of anything else I drastically want to change, at least. Well, I have to keep the hand. It's an explosive hand, just like the last one, and it comes with a Reclamation Sage as well. What it doesn't do is have a Damping Sphere in it. And against Tron, it sometimes can be worth it just to dig for the Damping Sphere. I mean, look, we didn't do it. I kept this hand. It's a good keep. It's something to keep in mind. With any luck, our opponent plays out... Look, this is the dream, right? Our opponent plays Expedition map, and then I go Dwynen's Elite into Rec Sage, blow up your Expedition map. That's the dream. Relic of Progenitus, not quite the dream, but you know what? I guess it is what it is. It is a target, is what it is. Alright, it looks like we're going to have plenty of black mana in this game, so I'm just going to go get the basic forest I want to fetch as quickly as I can. Alright. I guess it's the Rec Sage still, because look, our opponent can't even cycle the relic this way. We get a card with it, right? This is, and weirdly, my opponent didn't even activate it. Activating it is actually relevant, not that they know it, but there's an Elvish Reclaimer in our hand that is just one land away from being a 3/4. So just the, you know, seems like it doesn't matter, the activation to exile a card from our graveyard, in this case, was a real thing. Now, again, it might not matter here, but let's draw a Lord or something, get our attack on. Not quite, I suppose. Well, we'll do what we can do, which is swing for 6. Play out our 1/1 here. I'm sorry, our 1/2. Our opponent's at 14. We have 7 power in play. 9 power in play if we draw a fetch land. And we're going to need 2 turns, what it comes down to. So if our opponent has a Ugin again, we're going to die. Because they are going to get to that 4th turn. We'll see. Yep, there's the Sylvan Scrying. So, as they do, Tron has Tron. And let's hope that they don't have the payoff cards to beat us. I can't even actually beat a Wormcoil right now, though, for what it's worth. I really can't beat anything but maybe Karn Liberated, frankly. Let's see what we draw, though. Yeah, wasn't what we were looking for, but I guess it does turn the Reclaimer into a 3/4. Flooding out a little bit here, of course. Alright, well, I believe this will put our opponent to 5 life. If I counted right, I did. We've got nothing, though, so let's see what they've got. We know they have Tron, and we know they have 6 cards in hand after that. If it's Ugin, we lose on the spot. O-Stone, I guess we don't lose on the spot, given that they will have to pop it on our combat here. And they really should just pop it now, frankly, so that I don't get to activate the Reclaimer. And it looks like what they're going to do. Oops. Yep, no Ezuri to... Gosh, go away. Come on, thing. No Ezuri to regenerate everything. Let's see if we can draw a way to rebuild. Ooh, we did, of Llanowar Elves. Just what I was looking for right now. Alright, well, I guess we hope our Tron opponent has nothing but lands, because we do scoop to nearly everything here. You know, depending on what it is, I could take a draw step, right? If it's an Ezuri, we could probably see Ezuri. I collect a company into Ezuri and something. Maybe we can still win. Our opponent will only go up to 11. We could trample over for quite a bit. But if they have a real payoff, oh my gosh. Well, that certainly qualifies. I don't think I'll be beating the Sugin here. I'm sorry, Ulamog. He's pretty hungry. There's the map. That's what we wanted on turn 1. All right, well, you saw some good matchups with the Elf deck. You saw some Tron matchups with the Elf deck. That's the way it goes sometime. I'm going to name Merfolk with my Cavern of Souls, and I'm going to scoop them up. Good game, good match. All right, let's look at this deck. So, look, we're talking Elves here. I'm not going to pretend to be an Elves expert, but I probably have played it more than most people. I do like the Tajuru Paragons, but look, we never kicked it. We just didn't. I mean, there's a couple opportunities where we could have, or it would have been good. I think that the Nissas are an extremely powerful addition to the deck. If it were up to me, right? If I was, I like playing the card Court of Calling. I just do. Especially when we start talking about Sideboard and we have Reclamation Sages and we have Kitchen Finks. I mean, does this deck change? Does your deck get a lot worse by not having 2 more Tajuru Paragons, for instance? What if we cut down to 2 and we play 2 Court of Callings? I don't think there's very many games where you lose because you have Court of Calling instead of Tajuru Paragon, but I can think of a lot of games where you win because you have Court of Calling instead of Tajuru Paragon. Court of Calling is not the raw card advantage that the Paragon is, but, you know, you tweak a couple cards in the sideboard and all of a sudden that's just something available to you, right? That's something that I think, it's something that I value a lot in Magic. Just the fact that you have Court of Calling and you have the option, the chance that you come up in a game to go get your Reclamation Sage at a key time at instant speed, that's so much better to me than having even a 4th Tajuru Paragon. You play cards so that you can draw them, and I just don't, we know that Court of Calling is a card that works very well in the deck, so I have to say that's where I'd be looking. Just, you know, you start adding a couple sideboard cards, you really, I think, get some flexibility there. I like cutting the clan callers for the Paragons. I like that a lot. I think that maybe you've just got a little bit of room to work. But everybody, that's Elves of the Shadow, Boughs. Wow, you know what? I never looked that up, as a matter of fact. Let's see if I can spell that. Let's see how you pronounce the word ba. Or bow. All right. Google. Here we go.
Bow. Bow.
There you go. Nissa the Shadow bows. Now you know. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. It's really great to be back with you here on Cool Stuff. I'm Corbin Hosler. I'll see you next time.